Hey guys, it's Elisa, and today I have my May wrap up and my June TBR. So I'm gonna get right to it. The first book that I finished in the month of May was This Girl by Colleen Hoover. This is the last book in the Slammed trilogy. This book is basically Will's side of the story from books 1 and 2, where he basically is telling Lakeland things that she might have not known that were going on in the background. And he's just basically telling her everything. Like, I really didn't enjoy it. I read it. We skimmed a lot. Like, I skimmed a lot of stuff. I'm like, well, I already know this, and I really didn't care to know his perspective on certain things, and some of it was just, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it. I did like the epilogue a lot. I did give it a 3 out of 5 stars. No, actually, I gave it 3.5 stars, is what I went ahead and gave it. I would have been okay if this book never existed. I like the way book 2 ended. I think, you know what I would have preferred was the epilogue that we got in book 3 to be added to book 2, and I would have been okay. Like, I would have been okay with the series being not 3 books, but just 2. The next book that I went ahead and read was The Selection by Kira Cass, and this follows America and Prince Maxim. And this book, I devoured it. I enjoyed it. I could not put it down. I wanted the story to never end. I'm happy there's a book 2, and I hate that we have to wait until like next spring for book 3. And in case you guys don't know what The Selection is about, it's basically a dystopian book where 35 girls go live in a castle to see who's gonna win Prince Maxim's heart and become princess and future queen of their society. And I liked how Maxim grows on you, or grows on America. Like, I like that he changes her mind and everything like that. I really, really enjoyed the book a lot. I did give it a 5 out of 5 stars. After I read that, I went on to The Elite by Kira Cass. And this book had me so frustrated at times. Like, I was like, stop. I was like, just pick one already. Like, if you guys have read it, like, you know what I'm talking about. Don't want to give too much away for the people that haven't read it. But yeah, like, or not he, she, at times I just wanted to choke her. I don't know what it was about it. I didn't like some of the situations that she put herself in. Like, she would go one way and then go another and then go back, and being insecure. Like, I understand why she's insecure and everything like that. Like, I I understand, and I really enjoyed the story a lot. But it did frustrate me a lot that she didn't have faith. I loved how Maxim became more vulnerable, like really, really vulnerable in this book, and kind of put it out there and felt bad for the outcome that he got. But I did go ahead and give this book 4 out of 5 stars. So I did go ahead and read the little novella after that as well. I did read The Prince. On The Prince, I really enjoyed it. I loved to learn more about Maxim and all the preparations and everything that he was doing before other girls arrived and before they were actually selected and stuff like that. I did enjoy the story a lot. I actually gave this book 5 stars just because I enjoyed Maxim's perspective a lot. The next book that I went ahead and read was Divergent by Veronica Roth. This is the first book in the Divergent series, and I adored this dystopian. It was amazing. It was action packed. I loved Four. There was just something about him that I enjoyed a lot. Like, I wanted to get to know him better. I like how, even though Trish was really scared to kind of follow her heart or gut, to want to leave her group, like her abnegation group, and go ahead and go with the group that she decides to go ahead and go with. Like, I really enjoyed it. I devoured this really quickly. Like, I couldn't put it down. I hated that I waited so long to read it, but I did go ahead and enjoy that book a lot. The next book that I went ahead and read after Divergent, of course, was Insurgent by Veronica Roth. This one does have, it is a collector's edition, so I did also read the short story. But with Insurgent, I gave it 4.5 stars because the ending made it up for me. But with this book, I was so frustrated at times. Like, half of the things that happened in this book would have never happened if they would have just spoken to each other. I understand why the author did what she did, you know, to get to certain points, to certain situations. Like, if they would have talked to each other, a lot of things might have not happened the way that they did. Like, a lot of like for, I don't know if the trusting is the word, but kind of aligning himself with his mother. So I honestly, yeah, like I was so frustrated with this book. Like, there's times where I just wanted them to be together. Like, I just wanted them to have a little piece of heaven with each other, and they never did. And I get that they had to get over certain situations that happen. So yeah, I can't wait for book 3, Allegiant. I'm counting down the days and the weeks till October gets here because I really want to read that book. I hope it makes up for all the frustration that Insurgent made me go through. I honestly hope it does. But yeah, 4.5 stars is what I gave it. So I wanted something to make my heart melt. So I ended up diverting away from YA for a little bit. And what I ended up reading was a trilogy. It was like a trilogy and a novella, and it is adult. It is 3 books that I read that were called Mine for Tonight, Mine for Now, and Mine Forever. And these stories basically follow. His name is Simon. Simon is this very smart, intellectual. He's like the techie guy for his company, Kara Foster. She is down on her luck. She's putting herself through nursing school. She's a full-time student and like working full-time, and hardly ever like sleeps. It was a really cute romance. They got together. They get married and everything like that. It's super cute. I went ahead and gave it 4 out of 5 stars on each story for Mine for Tonight, Mine for Now, and Mine Forever. And then there was a little novella. Yes, their second Valentine's together. And this one was called Mine Completely. It gave us it gave us more about their Valentines, and it also brought in who's gonna have their next book, which of course is Simon's brother and his love interest. So I enjoyed that a lot, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars as well. After that, I was like, okay, I'm done with needing some fluff. Let me get back into my dystopian kind of groove that I had picked out for the month of May. And I went ahead and started to read Legend. Yeah, I started to read Legend by Marie Lu. And OMG, I hate myself that I've waited so long to read these books. Like, I have owned Legend in ebook forever, like since it came out back in 2011. I just never read it. I mean, it's a really small book, but it is a dystopian that follows June and Day. June basically being a coming from the good family, while Day is from the lower society, and their struggles with that world, basically, with Day being accused of killing June's brother and June out for revenge, and kind of going from there and figuring out that things aren't always as they seem. It was so fast paced, so action packed. I was telling my friend George, like, it's such a good book. Like, if I think this is a book that he would enjoy as a YA book. I know most YA books would not be his cup of tea, but I think this is something that he would be able to read if you ever wanted to, but it is such a good book, and I love the way there's so much emotion in there. I don't know what else to say about it, but it's such a good book. After Legend, I went ahead and picked up Prodigy by Marie Lu. This is book 2, which the story continues with Day and June. Basically, with the events that happened at the end of Legend, this kind of picks up from there. With June, at the end of Legend, she's kind of on the outs of her like high society, of her military background. So it's like trying to get back in there and them aligning themselves with the rebels, trying to get to get Day's little brother back. So this book, I hate it when Day and June were apart from each other, but I understood why, and I like their stories. I like how they kind of grew apart from each other. I hated that people were always trying to get them to change their minds about each other, like to doubt themselves or doubt their relationship. I didn't like that, but I get why that happened. The ending broke my heart. The ending, oh my god, it broke my heart, but I loved it. I loved Prodigy. I think out of the two, Prodigy so far is my favorite. I mean, I liked Legend a lot. I did. But this one got deeper into their feelings. Like some of the things that they didn't, some of the events that happen in Legend and Prodigy, they could have just kind of ignored the feelings that most people might have gotten with some of the situations that they went through. So I'm happy that they covered those. I'm happy. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I loved Prodigy. It was my favorite. So of course with Prodigy I did give it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I cannot wait for Champion in October. If I'm not mistaken, it should be in October that it comes out. I already pre-ordered it. I want it in my hands ASAP. I cannot wait. I want to know how the story is going to end. I think this trilogy is going to go into like my favorites pile, or it's already there in my favorites pile. As long as Champion doesn't mess it up too much for me, it is one of my favorites. But yeah. The last book that I went ahead and read, well, technically I'm kind of cheating because I did start it in May, but I did not finish it until June 2nd. But I'm going to count it towards May because it's part of my dystopian read, and I just want to do that. The last book that I went ahead and read was The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken, and this story follows Ruby and this society. Children have, like at the age of 10, start having these abilities. There's 5 different abilities that they can have, or like sections of abilities, and they're basically sent to these like reform camps that are more containment than reformation of them. Can't really reform their abilities, but yeah, Ruby escapes from her camp, and the story kind of goes from there. With Ruby, she has the ability to get into people's minds. Like she knows what they're thinking. Like she can see past memories or even current, like things that just had happened, and also things in the past and stuff like that. She can also end up altering things. Mainly, she can like kind of erase herself from you. So you can be her friend, and because she has no control over her abilities, she can accidentally wipe herself out of your memory, and you would not realize that she used to be your best friend or anything like that. Ruby ends up meeting Liam, Chubbs, and Zoo, who are also kids that were in a camp that escaped themselves, and they're looking for someone called the Slip Kid, who is supposed to be this very savvy protector of children that have abilities. So they're, on a mission to go ahead and do that. And, it goes from there. There's a lot of action in it. There was some of the things that happened I wasn't expecting. Like, I really didn't expect the Slip Kid to be who he was. So that was a good surprise. The ending broke my heart. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is with these dystopians. Like, they kind of break my heart a bit. But yeah, this one kind of broke my heart, but I did enjoy it. It took me a little while to read it just because of my work schedule. Like, I would get into it and then I had to stop. So it would take a while that I would start reading again. So it took a bit to kind of get back into the story, and then I had to stop because of work or other engagements and stuff like that. So I kind of hated that, but that's more my fault than the book's fault at all. It was a really good book. I did enjoy it. I did give it 4 out of 5 stars. I cannot wait for October to come around. So yeah, those are the books I've read in the month of May. I know I said I was going to go ahead and read 5 dystopians, and that really didn't work out. I had a feeling that I wasn't going to be able to get into Pandemonium and Requiem from the Delirium series. I just had a feeling I wasn't, just because I had doctor's appointments and stuff like that. I did a quick trip to the beach. So I knew that was going to take up some time on my reading. So yeah, so I'm not too bummed that I didn't read that series. But I will get to it soon. I do want to know what happens to it, but it just wasn't in the cards for me to read it in the month of May, which is okay. For the month of June, what I went ahead and decided that I'm going to do is I'm going to be reading 6 books. I decided to read 2 YA, 2 adult, and 2 new adult. Okay, so the first book that I'm going to be reading in the month of June is Raziel by Christina Douglas. This is the first book in the Fallen series, which follows. It's about demons and fallen angels. I'll read a little blurb on the back. It says, Christina Douglas's sexy new series introduces a realm of fallen angels and ruthless demons where an internal rebellion is brewing, and one unsuspecting woman can change the fate of the fallen forever. So, yeah, I'm excited to read it. I have not started. I just put the little bookmark there to start, and it even says in the beginning, which I'll start later on today. So, yeah. The next adult book that I'm going to go ahead and be reading is I will be reading Nightshine by Lynn Beale. This is the last book in the Kindred series, which is a spin-off of the Darkkin series. I like a lot Lynn Beale's writing. When I first started reading, when I picked up reading again after Twilight, I started reading a lot of things that were just vampire based. So yeah, a little confession there that I'm not really ashamed about. But yeah, so I read a lot of vampire books. The Darkkin series follows vampires that got their vampirism by the Black Plague, so I like the concept of it. It was really good. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's 7 books series, and then I did a spin-off in with a Kindred. Basically, what was happening, one of the concepts in the Darkkin was that the church was experimenting on orphan children that kind of gave them abilities. So the reason they did that was so that they could help fight the vampires. It sounds kind of weird, but trust me, it's a good read. It's a good read. But anyways, the Kindred basically follows humans that were got abilities from their experimentations. So, yeah, this is the last book in the series. I decided to go ahead and read it just so that I can finish this one. And there's another, I don't even know if I should, I guess it is another spin-off because it kind of goes back into the Darkkin world, and it's called the Lords of the Darkkin series, and it's like 3 books. So I want to go ahead and read those. So, yeah. So these are the ones I'm reading for adult. For YA, what I decided to go ahead and do is, since I'm kind of doing paranormal for the adult, I decided to kind of go fantasy with the YA. So I'm going to be reading The Girl, Fire and Thorns by Rae Carson. I decided that I kind of wanted to read some fantasy stuff, some kings and queens and stuff like that. I was gonna pick like Falling Kingdoms, but I own it in ebook and I wanted to read a book, so I went with this one. the second book that I'll be reading is the second book in the series, which is The Crown of Embers. So I'm super excited to read these books. So the last two books that I picked are the new adult ones. The first one will be Forever Too Far by Abby Glynis. This is the third book in the Too Far series. As you guys know, I did read book 1 and 2, Fallen Too Far and Never Too Far, in the month of April, and I really enjoyed them. And Forever Too Far is scheduled to be coming out like June 10th, if I'm not mistaken. So as long as it comes out the day that it's supposed to be, I will be reading it in the month of June. The next book in the new adult genre that I want to go ahead and read is One Tiny Lie by K.A. Tucker. This is the second book in the 10 Tiny Breaths series, which I also read 10 Tiny Breaths in the month of April, and I adored that story a lot. So I really can't wait to see what happens with Livy. That one also should be coming out June 10th. So as long as those two books come out the day that they're supposed to, because we all know sometimes release dates can change, as long as they come out when they're supposed to, then, you know, those are the two new adults that I will be reading in the month of June. If for some reason they do not come out, then I will be picking two other new adult books that you guys will find out about on my June wrap up. This, of course, was my May wrap up and my June TBR list. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have read any of these books, let me know what you think about them. If there's any other books that maybe you guys want to suggest that I read in the month of June or even in July, let me know. It is summertime, so I hopefully will have more time to go ahead and be reading. So let me know, what did you guys read this month, or in the month of May, I'm sorry. What are you guys planning to read in the month of June? Anything that we might be reading together? Let me know in the comments down below. You guys have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye!